Amidst the golden sands of Arabia, where the winds have long whispered tales of valor, a tribe once rose to power that would forever shape the destiny of the sacred city of Mecca. Join us today as we dive into the history and legacy of the Khuzah tribe, a name that echoes through time as both conquerors and custodians of Mecca's sacred precincts. Their story spans from pre-Islamic times through the rise of Islam and beyond. The story of the Khuzah begins in southern Arabia, much like many of the early tribes of the Arabian Peninsula. The Khuzah tribe is believed to have descended from the Qatani Arabs, an ancient and proud lineage that traces its roots to Yemen. Over time, due to political and environmental pressures, the Khuzah migrated northward, eventually settling in the Hijaz region, which includes the city of Mecca. In pre-Islamic Arabia, the land was divided between various tribes, each with its own distinct culture, identity, and territory. The name Khuzah itself is believed to be derived from the Arabic root, meaning to separate or withdraw. It is said that they separated from their kin, the Azd tribe, during the Great Migrations from Yemen following the collapse of the Marib Dam, a catastrophic event that led to widespread displacement. Specifically, the tribe descends from Amr ibn Luhay al-Khuzai, who is considered the founding figure of the tribe in the Hijaz region. Their full lineage can be traced through Amr ibn Rabia, making them part of the broader southern Arabian tribes. Like other Qatani tribes, the Khuzah were part of the wave of migrations that took place after the collapse of the ancient Marib Dam in Yemen, leading many southern tribes to move north into the Arabian Peninsula. Led by their chief, Amr bin Luhay, the Khuzah tribe made their way northward through the barren desert and eventually settled in the fertile and spiritually significant region of Hijaz, near the city of Mecca. As they migrated, the Khuzah tribe grew in strength and numbers, becoming one of the most powerful tribes in the region. By the time they reached Mecca, they had established themselves as a formidable force, challenging the local Jurhum tribe. Upon arriving in the Hijaz, the Khuzah tribe encountered the Jurhum tribe, who had been in control of Mecca for centuries. At that time, Mecca was not only a commercial hub, but also a center of religious significance due to the Kaaba, a revered sanctuary believed to have been built by the Prophet Ibrahim and his son Ismail, peace be upon both. As the Jurhum tribe's power waned due to internal corruption, the Khuzah tribe took advantage of the situation and under the leadership of Amr ibn Luhay successfully overthrew the Jurhum, driving them out of Mecca. The Jurhum were also an ancient tribe, and they had long been the custodians of the Kaaba. However, their reign was marked by increasing corruption and mismanagement, particularly in how they treated pilgrims and controlled the sacred well of Zamzam. According to Arab tradition, Amr bin Luhay, the leader of Khuzah, was a man of immense influence and charisma. He soon gained the trust of Mecca's inhabitants, including the Jurhumites. However, tensions rose between the two tribes, and through a combination of diplomacy, military strategy, and perhaps divine fate, the Khuzah eventually displaced the Jurhum tribe, establishing their own rule over Mecca. As the Jurhum's influence weakened due to their corrupt practices, Amr bin Luayy organized a revolt against them. The Khuzah tribe, along with other allied tribes that resented the Jurhum's misrule, rose up against the weakened Jurhum. The conflict between the Khuzah and the Jurhum culminated in the Khuzah defeating the Jurhum in battle. According to historical accounts, the Jurhum, realizing their inevitable defeat, attempted to bury the sacred treasures of the Kaaba, including the famous black stone, Al-Hajar al-Aswad, to prevent them from falling into the hands of the Khuzah. They are said to have either buried or hid some of the treasures around the Kaaba before fleeing the city, They also buried the Zamzam well before leaving. Following their defeat, the Jurhum were forced to leave Mecca, and the Khuzah, under the leadership of Amr bin Luayy, took control of the city. This victory gave the Khuzah dominance over the Kaaba and religious leadership in Mecca, marking the beginning of a new era in the city's history. Once in control of Mecca, Amr bin Luayy became the de facto custodian of the Kaaba. This position gave him immense religious and political influence, as the Kaaba was a center of pilgrimage even in pre-Islamic times. With control over the Kaaba came control over the religious practices of the region. Amr bin Luayy used this influence to further strengthen Mecca as a religious and trade center. However, his most significant and controversial decision was to introduce idol worship into Meccan religious practices. The story of Amr bin Luayy and the introduction of the idol Hubal forever changed the religious landscape of the region. Amr bin Luayy was a revered and influential leader of the Khuzah tribe. He was widely admired not only for his leadership skills, but also for his generosity and ability to maintain peace in Mecca. However, despite his standing, Amr bin Luayy made a decision that would have profound consequences for the spiritual and cultural life of the Arabian Peninsula. His travels outside of Arabia exposed him to new religious practices, and these experiences would lead him to introduce idol worship to the people of Mecca. Amr ibn Luayy is considered a key figure in leading the Arabs away from the monotheistic tradition of Prophet Ibrahim and Prophet Ismail, peace be upon both. Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, once said, "I saw Amr bin Luayy dragging his intestines in hell." This statement, recorded in Islamic traditions, highlights the severe consequences of Amr's actions in leading his people into polytheism. The Prophet's mission to cleanse the Kaaba of its idols and restore the worship of Allah would be a central focus of his prophetic message. According to historical accounts, Amr bin Luayy embarked on a journey to Syria, a region that had long been influenced by the cultures and religions of neighboring empires, including the Byzantines and Persians. In Syria, Amr encountered idol worship on a scale he had never seen before. The people there worshipped statues and images of gods, believing that these physical representations could bring them closer to the divine. One idol in particular caught his attention: the idol of Hubal, a large figure revered by the people of Syria. Hubal was believed to possess great power and was worshipped for protection, guidance, and prosperity. Amr bin Luayy was so impressed by the devotion of the Syrian people and the perceived benefits of their idol worship that he decided to bring this practice back to his homeland. Upon his return to Mecca, Amr bin Luayy brought with him the idol of Hubal and placed it inside the Kaaba, the most sacred site in Arabia. This marked the beginning of idol worship in Mecca, a practice that would soon spread across the Arabian Peninsula. Amr encouraged the people of Mecca to revere Hubal and to pray to the idol for rain, victory in battle, and protection from harm. Hubal became central to the religious life of Mecca. It was carved from red agate, a precious stone, and had a golden arm to replace one that had broken. The idol stood inside the Kaaba, and people would perform rituals and sacrifices in front of it, believing that Hubal had the power to determine their fates. One of the key rituals associated with Hubal was the practice of divination. The people of Mecca would cast arrows in front of the idol to seek guidance in important matters such as marriage, business decisions, and war. This practice, known as Aslam, became a crucial part of Meccan society, further embedding idol worship into the lives of the people. Hubal quickly became the most important deity worshipped in the Kaaba, and over time, Other tribes brought their idols to Mecca as well, each placing their own deities alongside Hubal. The Kaaba, once a site of monotheistic worship established by Prophet Ibrahim and his son Ismail, peace be upon both, was now becoming home to idols. While this decision would later be condemned by Islam, it set the stage for centuries of idol worship in Mecca. For the Khuzah, this solidified their role not only as political leaders, but also as religious authorities in a city that was becoming an important pilgrimage site for the pagan tribes of Arabia. The introduction of Hubal and idol worship by Amr bin Luayy had far-reaching consequences. His actions not only changed the religious practices of the people of Mecca, but also transformed the city into a religious and economic hub. Pilgrims from across Arabia traveled to Mecca to visit the Kaaba and pay homage to their respective idols, bringing wealth and influence to the city. Amr bin Luayy's actions brought a lot of prosperity to Mecca. However, this newfound prosperity came at a spiritual cost. The monotheistic teachings of Prophet Ibrahim, peace be upon him, were almost entirely forgotten, and polytheism became the dominant belief system in Mecca. The people placed their trust in idols made of stone and metal, believing these objects had the power to change their lives and fortunes. For over 5 centuries, the Khuzah tribe maintained control over Mecca. They regulated the pilgrimage to the Kaaba, controlled trade routes, and collected tribute from those seeking to venerate their idols. They oversaw the pilgrimage rituals and managed the flow of pilgrims to Mecca. This gave them not only religious prestige but also economic benefits, as they controlled the trade and commerce that came with the influx of pilgrims. But as with all dynasties, their rule eventually faced challenges. Their position as custodians of the Kaaba made them rivals of the Quraysh tribe, which would later take control of Mecca in the 5th century CE. The rise of the Quraysh tribe would mark the decline of the Khuzah's dominance in Mecca. The Quraysh, a powerful Adnani, northern Arab tribe, settled near Mecca and were originally subordinates to the Khuzah, but gradually grew in power. The Quraysh tribe, descendants of Ismail, began to rise in influence and power. Led by Qusay bin Kilab, the Quraysh sought to reclaim their ancestral right to Mecca. Qusay, through a combination of marriage alliances and military strategy, was able to unite the Quraysh and challenge Khuzah's dominance over the city. He claimed that he had more right to the custodianship of Kaaba because he was from the sons of Ismail, peace be upon him, whereas the Khuzah were southern Arabian tribes. A series of conflicts ensued, culminating in the Quraysh taking control of Mecca. The Khuzah were pushed out of the city, but they did not disappear from history. In fact, their legacy continued to influence the region in significant ways. After being expelled from Mecca by the Quraysh, the Khuzah tribe largely settled in areas outside of the city, particularly in regions to the south of Mecca and around Tihama, a coastal region along the Red Sea. They also established themselves in places like Wadi Fatima, a valley close to Mecca, and continued to have a presence in parts of the Hijaz region. Despite losing control of Mecca, the Khuzah maintained influence in the broader area and remained significant in the political and religious dynamics of the Arabian Peninsula. Their settlement after expulsion from Mecca allowed them to still hold sway over some parts of Western Arabia, although they no longer had direct control over the Kaaba and the religious life of the city. Centuries later, as Islam began to emerge under the Prophet Muhammad, the Khuzah tribe found themselves once again at a pivotal moment in history. Although they had once been the purveyors of idol worship, the Khuzah were among the early supporters of Islam. Many members of the Khuzah tribe became early supporters of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, during the rise of Islam, and their alliance played a role in the Prophet's eventual return to Mecca. Unlike many other tribes in the region, the Khuzah were relatively sympathetic to Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and his message. This was partly due to their long-standing rivalry with the Quraysh, who opposed the Prophet's teachings and who had driven him out of Mecca. The Khuzah had long-standing tensions with the Quraysh and their allies, which led them to seek alliances elsewhere, making them more open to the message of Islam. The Khuzah had a historical connection with the Prophet Muhammad's ancestors when Qusay ibn Kilab of the Quraysh took over the custodianship of the Kaaba from the Khuzah. A sort of long-standing rivalry was established. However, Qusay bin Kilab married into the Khuzah tribe. The Khuzah were never in direct conflict with the Prophet Muhammad himself. The Khuzah opposed the Quraysh for reasons rooted in historical rivalries, political conflicts, and shifting alliances in pre-Islamic Arabia. Their opposition to the Quraysh helped the Prophet's mission and eventually played a significant role in the developments leading to the rise of Islam. The Khuzah tribe entered into an alliance with Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, after the Treaty of Hudaybiyah in 628 CE. This treaty was an agreement between the Quraysh and the Muslims, but it also allowed other tribes to ally with either side. The Khuzah chose to ally with Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, because their rival tribe, Banu Bakr, allied with the Quraysh. In 630 CE, the Khuzah tribe played a pivotal role in the events that led to the conquest of Mecca by Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. The Banu Bakr tribe, allied with the Quraysh, violated the terms of the Treaty of Hudaybiyah by attacking the Khuzah tribe. The Khuzah sought the protection of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. After this violation, the Muslims, led by Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, sought to resolve the situation diplomatically. However, when the Quraysh failed to offer a satisfactory resolution, the Prophet considered the treaty void. This violation eventually led to the conquest of Mecca in 630 CE, when the Muslims peacefully took control of the city without significant bloodshed. With the support of the Khuzah tribe and many other tribes, Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and the Muslim army entered Mecca, marking the triumph of Islam in the city. The Quraysh, realizing they had broken the treaty and seeing the strength of the Muslim forces, eventually surrendered Mecca without significant bloodshed. One of the first actions taken by the Prophet was to enter the Kaaba and destroy all of the idols inside, including Hubal, placed there by Amr ibn Luayy centuries earlier. The Prophet forgave the Quraysh and restored the Kaaba to its original monotheistic purpose. The destruction of Hubal marked the return of monotheism to the Kaaba, as it had been during the time of Prophets Ibrahim and Ismail, peace be upon both. The Kaaba was once again dedicated to the worship of the one true God, Allah, and the practice of idol worship was abolished in Mecca. After the conquest of Mecca, the Khuzah tribe became fully integrated into the Muslim community. They maintained their influence in the region and continued to play an important role in the early Islamic state, particularly in the Hijaz. Members of the Khuzah tribe were known for their piety and contributions to the spread of Islam. They also played roles in the Rashidun Caliphate and the subsequent Umayyad and Abbasid periods. The tribe's legacy is closely tied to their early support for the Prophet Muhammad and their role in the conquest of Mecca, as well as their early history as custodians of the Kaaba. Today, descendants of the Khuzah tribe can still be found in various parts of the Arab world, especially in Saudi Arabia, Yemen, and Iraq. Their historical contributions to both pre-Islamic and early Islamic history are remembered as an integral part of the broader narrative of the Arabian Peninsula. In the next video, we will tell you how Quraysh grew in strength and gained the custodianship of Kaaba and Mecca. Stay tuned. Thank you for joining us on this journey through time. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share and subscribe for more historical deep dives.